Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in our bottom left hand corner, Quix. Quix, our blue Protoss. He is in high masters like top 10, maybe top 8, and he's been in Grandmasters a couple of times, so he's very, very good at the game. Also good at this game is coLqxc. He's not, I don't think he's the coLqxc, because I looked it up on line, and basically his name is COL lowercase dot QXC, so I think this might be either a copycat or it's just an alt. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Whoever he is, he's very, very good at this game, though. He's been in Grandmasters himself several times, thousands of games, and he's also currently in Grandmasters, so he's great at this game, even if he's not the coLqxc, and I think he might be. You know what? He just might be. So I personally believe that he is. If he's not, fantastic. He's good at the game, so I'm still going to cast it because it's still, Grandmasters level play. So we see the first supply depot going down just north of the barracks, and immediately his SCB just leaves. Normally you see the barracks going down just to the left of the supply depot, and then another one just to the south. So I have no idea what's going on with that. Probably going for a bit of an earlier command center, maybe some gas. I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it. His money's starting to climb. Quix, though, is building his own gateway just to the north of his nexus, as well as working on a similar, and immediately sending out his probe. Very early scout coming out of him, and with the money that we see coLqxc is currently holding, it's pretty obvious that he's going for an early command center. So keep an eye out for that SCV. He's going to be positioning himself just to the north of the ramp. So wow. Throwing his command center up where the barracks would traditionally go, making it so I think if you throw a barracks just to the south of that, you can actually wall that off. But coLqxc does not currently have enough money to do that, to deny the scout coming out of Quix. So Quix managed to sneak inside. Nothing earth-shattering to report, because the earth-shattering thing was at the top of the ramp. Knowing that command center is there, it's pretty safe to assume that there's not going to be early gas, because anybody who's going for that super early expansion is going to know that you can't really grab gas safely. And I think Quix is immediately going to throw down his own nexus, just because there's not a lot he can do to punish coLqxc for taking this early expansion himself. He's only got a single gateway out right now, and with that, I think the proper thing to do is to take your own expansion, and that's exactly what Quix is going to do, keeping his single probe alive long enough to make it, a very, very fantastic scout inside coLqxc's base. And I think that scouting these 3 barracks, you would initially, maybe naturally, expect there to be some sort of aggression coming out of coLqxc, but as things are to us, we know that the reason he's getting so many of these barracks is because he's going to have a lot of minerals and no gas at all. He's going to be very mineral intensive, and normally you just throw down a reactor on one of your barracks if you wanted to produce more than a handful of Marines, but coLqxc isn't going to have that opportunity. He's not going to have that income, that gas income. So he's throwing down a 1 or 2 extra barracks to make it so that he can produce the amount of Marines necessary to defend this extra base. He's more worried about some sort of punishment coming out of Quix than it is about doing any form of aggression, because really you need STEM at least to do some aggression against Protoss, especially with the first Zealot already out on the field and the first Stalker on the production tab. That Nexus finishes for Quix. He's grabbed 2 gases for himself and is working on that Warp Gate tech. So Quix is settling into the macro fest, as is coLqxc. I think I'm going to start calling him Cole now, just because Quix and QXC is going to be very, very confusing for me. Forgive me. Forgive me. But the first round of Marines are making their way out onto the map. It looks like the Zealot scored a kill. I guess that was a scouting SCV coming out of coLqxc. And you know what? How much did he actually scout? Because it's pretty important for him to actually have made it up that ramp. He did not, and he would have scouted a Stargate going up just to the left of the main base of Quix. So that's fantastic. 2 rounds of Chrono Boost saved up currently on that Nexus. Tells me with the 2 gas being grabbed, it's probably going to be a Phoenix opening, a little bit of harassment. Again, this might be just a reactionary build coming out of Quix, and that's because coLqxc kind of threw things out the window. He's going for that super early expansion. He's going to be spread a little bit thin, trying to defend them, and because of that, those Phoenixes are going to be very, very successful at getting in there and punishing the two different mineral lines. We don't see any engineering bay out on the field currently, and with that, there's no missile turrets. So the only anti-air is that coLqxc is going to have are these Marines. They don't even have STEM. STEM is a long way off because it's just now getting started, and with the first Phoenix being chrono boost out of that Stargate, Quix is going to be able to hit him with a ton of hammers very shortly. Another thing to keep in mind, though, is that coLqxc has not scouted that main base. He didn't get that SCV up the ramp, so he knows that there's something going on up here that he doesn't know about. He really wanted to get that gas timing that he doesn't have. So probably at the 8-minute, maybe 9-minute, maybe 10-minute, if he's feeling very ballsy, we're going to see a scan come out of coLqxc. He's going to check out that main base, and which is really cool about this Stargate positioning. Probably the scan's going to be over here, maybe, probably not on the Nexus, maybe behind the mineral line, but probably not. No. Probably not way over here on the left side. So it'll be interesting to see if coLqxc's instincts can make it so that that scan does indeed nail the kind of hidden position of that Stargate, because it's going to be very, very important. And we're at the 8-minute mark, and I keep kind of flirting around this natural because I really want to see if it actually goes down on the natural, if it comes up over here. It doesn't make a lot of sense for it to go down on the natural, just because you can suicide your Marines in there, and your SCV actually got a Marine already positioned there. That's probably what he's going to do, is just suicide him in. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, though. Also interesting to see is that we have charge coming out. Fantastic for Quix right now, and I'll tell you why he's getting charge and not blink. I probably would have gotten blink. We've gotten a lot of stalkers. I know there's bio coming out of coLqxc because I've scouted so many of these barracks, and blink is going to allow me to get a bunch of stalkers out to kind of deny the drop play that I know is inherent to that build style. However, with zealots, you can really afford to produce a lot of zealots. Awesome. There goes the scan. So cool. And oh, is it within range? Oh, it's just barely within range. Fantastic. Really, really lucky. Really lucky. And we're going to see an engineering bay thrown down immediately. Oh, the engineering bay was already out, and the missile turret's going down just to the side of the mineral field. And this is really cool. This missile turret was positioned here so that it could snipe an observer if it was sent out from QXC. This missile turret's sent here because he knows there's going to be Phoenixes out on the field right now. Single Marine scouts that the 5 Phoenixes are already out of field. They're going to be arriving just a second too late to scout that the 3rd is coming out. Maybe this orbital is going to turn around. Regardless, those Phoenixes are definitely going to have to turn around because of that missile turret. As I was saying about the charge, a lot of gas is going to be eaten up in these Phoenixes, quite a lot of gas, and that's going to translate into extra minerals left, and those minerals are going to be spent on zealots rather than anything that could eat into the gas count. Oh wow, some of that extra gas is going into the Templar Archive. Again, this is Quix, just knowing that the gig is up pretty much. Those Phoenixes are not going to be very successful, and you really don't want to get more than 5 because that's all you really need to hit a mineral line pretty hard. So the AoE that represents itself in the High Templar Archive is really going to help him with this heavy marine ball that we see out of coLqxc. And there we can see those zealots absolutely going to town on those unupgraded Marines out of coLqxc. He had STEM at the start of that engagement, but nothing else. +1 has now finished. Combat Shield will be finishing, but coLqxc had that huge Marine force over here by the 3rd because he really wanted to stem and push down as soon as those 2 upgrades finished. Quix, however, with some nice map awareness, pushed forward with his zealots who had just gotten charge and kind of shut down that timing attack at the exact right timing. Nice timing here for coLqxc, pushing down to the south with his Marines, stemming them, sniping down one of those Phoenixes. But again, those Phoenixes and their usefulness is really, really limited right now because all the mineral lines are really on lockdown, with the exception of this 3rd, which Quix doesn't quite know about just yet. Speaking of 3rd, Quix is feeling confident enough to take his own 3rd because he's got those High Templars out. Storm is now finished. No, Storm's 10 seconds away. Oh man, this is a really tense time right now. Where's the force of coLqxc? It's right up here. He's got the upgrades that he needs. If he wanted to, he could push in on that 3rd, but pretty much the time is completely gone. Now he's just now moving out, but +1's going to finish for Quix, as well as Storm having finished. He's going to be absolutely fine pushing in and and just shutting down this Marine push coming out of coLqxc. He's got to be very careful, doesn't want to push in too far. There goes the storm, showing coLqxc that he needs to get out of dodge, because the AoE that's right here is just going to decimate everything. Those Marines are going to go down from the storm, and the feedback on those medevacs is really going to punish them if they overextend themselves. Mobius reactor being researched right now, and that's for ghosts, so EMP is really going to shut down those High Templars. So we see a really nice back and forth build. We saw the super early expansion coming out of QXC and the Phoenixes as a result of that. Counter drop from QXC, making his way in with these Marines, going to town on the infrastructure, which is kind of weird because you'd expect him to stutter step down into the probes to start doing damage to the economy. As things are now, though, he's succeeded in taking out 1 or 2 pylons and a gateway, and wedging his Marines into the choke to really just deal a heavy blow to the Zealot number, make it so the resources lost tab are pretty much equal at the end of this fight. 33 over 35. That is pretty much neck and neck, but quite a lot of Zealots died. That was pretty much unnecessary because coLqxc had such fantastic positioning. The Phoenixes succeed in sniping down more than a handful of those medevacs. Are any medevacs left alive? None. Oh man, that's a brutal loss, because you need the medevacs and you need to keep them alive more than anything else. Everything else can just die. Marines, dime a dozen. Medevacs, they cost a lot of energy, and also if you can keep your medevacs alive in the mid game, when the Colossus get out, you can purely devote your starport that has a reactor only to producing Vikings, and that's huge. Being able to react to the Colossus count like that is absolutely enormous, and if you can't keep your medevacs alive, then you can find yourself behind on 2 fronts rather than just one, and that can be a pretty devastating loss. Area that coLqxc is not behind is upgrades. He's got the 2-1. 2-2 is on the way for Protoss, but traditionally you see Protoss being 1-up on the upgrades, so it's not a big deal at all. In fact, this is pretty much exactly where you'd expect. High Templars are being morphed into the Archons as soon as they extinguish their energy. Nice storm there, but the ghost count right now is really devastating. Going to be able to throw down a lot of snipes, and I think that one of those EMPs hit those High Templars, forcing Quix to retreat, kind of denying this 4th, I guess. Is the 4th? Yeah, it's the 4th. 3rd is still very, very up and saturated, a nice juicy target for QXC, but he doesn't feel confident enough to take the bait just yet, primarily because he doesn't have those medevacs out. Only 2 medevacs, another one on the way, another wave of forces pushing in, but in order to take that 3rd, he'd have to push through 3 Archons and so many storms, and really he just can't afford to take this hit. Oh man, the robotics bay on the way, and we have 2 robotics facilities. Awesome. So the transition into Colossus is going to go off without a hitch, very nice and smooth, away from the High Templars and the Archons and the gateway units, towards a robotics facility with the Colossus tech, and that's going to absolutely chew through so many of these Marines. How many Marines do we have out right now? 54 Marines. Wow. They die very quickly to Colossus if you haven't gotten that patch note yet. And so will this expansion if the Extended Thermal Lance has anything to say about that. With the 3-3 upgrade on the way, those Colossus are going to be incredibly intimidating once they get out. But right now, coLqxc has the advantage. He's got a very intimidating force, and he needs to just push in and deal some damage. Ideally, he'd have some extra medevacs so that he could load up a handful of these Marines that he's got and just drop them in different corners of the base to kind of split up this heavy ball that Quix has right now. But he can't do that because he's lost so many to those Phoenixes, and they've done such a fantastic job of denying that drop play. Great job by Quix right now, and he's going to be feeling very confident because of that. It's really afforded him a lot of comfort room. These Zealots, not worthless, definitely not worthless, but a bit outmoded right now. They need to be replaced by something else. 195 supply. I think Quix is going to be finding different weird uses for them, probably just suiciding them into the 3rd. Quix is taking a bit of an aggressive stance here now that he's got these 2 Colossus, forcing QXC all the way back to the ramp. Oh man, the medevacs overextending themselves just a little bit, getting left behind. Look at how many ghosts there are. My goodness, so many ghosts. That's a lot of EMPs that can be thrown down. I don't see too many High Templar or High Templar in this force at all. Actually, I don't see any. So a lot of the AoE is going to be generated by the Colossus and a handful of the Archons. There goes the High Templars throwing down a single storm, second storm. Oh man, and QXC just sat there and took it. My goodness, so much damage being done to those Marines. Medevacs once again getting left behind while the Marines outpace them with their stem. All but 2 of the medevacs survive, and remember how I was telling you just how important it is to keep them alive. QXC showing you he's got 7 Marauders and 12 Marines on the production tab, but only 1 medevac. He needs those. He needs those so crazy, because as this is right now, QXC can push into this 4th and start doing quite a lot of damage, even to this planetary fortress. Now that he's got that extended thermal lance, +3 is just now finishing. High Templar being incredibly ballsy. He doesn't have enough energy to throw it on a storm, which is what I was hoping for on all those SCVs. But as things are now, Quix has to pull back just a little bit now that the sheer number of medevacs has really climbed back up to a more intimidating and more comfortable number for QXC, up to 5. He's got 3 Vikings on the way, and that's exactly what I was talking about. He had to spend 1 or 2 rounds of Viking production on medevac production, and now he's having to catch up. And that the number of Colossus right now, we've got 4 out on the field right now. I have another 2 going to be popping out in just a couple of seconds, and a lot of anti-air afforded by those Stalkers. So QXC is going to have a hard time keeping that Colossus count down to a manageable number unless he just mainlines Vikings, and he can't afford to take too many body blows like he's been taking to the medevac count. He's having to blow a lot of gas on the medevacs, and that's having him rely on those very weak Marines rather than the Marauders that he really wants to get out, because those Marauders are going to be incredibly effective against pretty much every unit that Quix has out right now. They have so many hit points, they can soak up a lot of the AoE damage from both Archons, Storm, and Colossus, and they just decimate the Stalker count that we see that Quix is going to be relying on to kind of deny the drops, as well as the Viking pressure. So we have 2 medevac drops moving out, 2 to the north, 1 to the south, and it looks like the one to the north is going to find an unsaturated 5th being taken. And this is the one to really keep an eye out on, though, is he's going to be pushing in, and he's going to find, oh, wow, a high-priced target, you know, the robotics bay, but it's guarded by 2 photon cannons, and they managed to take it down. At the same time, the drop from coLqxc dropping down 2 full loads of Marines, going to go absolutely to town on that Nexus, get the snipe. At the same time, Quix pulls back his army to defend that 4th. QXC pushes forward with his force into the 5th for Quix, and is going to go absolutely to town, just raking in the kills. However, Quix reacts very, very quickly now that he's driven off the drop to the top left, manages to save the only thing that matters, which is that Nexus. A weird storm going down just right in front of Quix's Quix's main army for absolutely no reason. I don't think there wasn't a ghost or anything like that, but oh man, speaking of storm, very successful storm right there. QXC pushing back in once again with the weakened Marines, but this time without the medevacs to support them. They get chewed alive very, very quickly by those Zealots, and that's what I was talking about. Those Zealots are outmoded. They need to be used for something else, such as Guardian and Expansion. Not really. They need to get suicided in maybe to the 3rd, because this 4th has that planetary. It's not gonna take too much damage. QXC pushing in once again. That count of Colossus is absolutely ridiculous, but the AoE is lacking in my opinion. Not the AoE, the anti-air. 8 Stalkers, that's it. 8 Stalkers against 15 Vikings. Those Vikings are going to absolutely chew through the Colossus count before those Stalkers have anything to say about them. So these Vikings really have to only be careful about the Archons, make sure they don't get underfoot, and also Quix needs to free up some supply from those Zealots and start replacing them with Stalkers, start replacing them with the anti-air. Remember, those Stalkers do have blinks, so they have some high mobility. They have to be very careful, though. They're overextending themselves, getting way too close. That planetary fortress turning around, starts shelling down some damage on those Stalkers. The Colossus going to town. The Vikings finally taking the bait, pushing forward onto the storm placed there, but not taking too much damage as it expires. 1 Colossus goes down, the Vikings swinging up over the north side, over that crag, made it so it's very hard for those Stalkers to get more than a handful of pot shots off on them. Another round of Stalkers have come back in, reinforcing that Stalker count. Now we have it up to 14, and it looks like 5 of those Vikings have gone down. Overall, Quix is getting out the anti-air that he needs to protect his Colossus, as well as replacing a lot of the units. It looks like all the Archons have gone down, and these Zealots, once again, that's the meat shield. But that meat shield has begun to get chipped away. Those Archons are gone. Those Zealots are on their way to... Where exactly are they going? Are they going up? Yeah, they are. They're pushing in here, which is fantastic because I don't see any planetary fortresses there. But Quix is going to have to distract coLqxc just a little bit so that those Zealots can do a little bit of damage. And that's exactly what he's doing here. He's pushing forward with those Colossus, once again just railing down fire on those Marauders who can soak up a lot of that damage, especially with that number of medevacs in the rear there. There goes the Storm, forcing the Marauders to push back. Oh, another Storm the Marauders have to run directly through. However, they don't mind because they have so many hit points, and they're sniping down the High Templars. I know the Zealots have now reached the 4th base and they're going to town, but what are they attacking? They're attacking infrastructure and nothing else. Oh, getting hung up on a bunker, not really getting any kills on the workers or anything like that. Going to be running past, working their way up to the natural, and really allowing Quix a bit of a respite, allowing him to get out a little bit, another round of Colossus, another round of High Templars, absorb some more energy, make it so that these Zealots are really providing a very, very useful distraction, which is more than you can expect for a tier 1 unit with a nice upgrade, really. coLqxc is going to be taking the bottom right corner as his natural and main are completely mined out. It looks like the Zealots are, wow, paying for themselves the weight of gold. 6 kills on this one Zealot, taking out a ridiculous number of SCVs, far more than I would have imagined from just a run by, really, with Zealots, and completely shutting down the refineries in the natural. And remember, the main is going to be completely mined out with the time. He's still got some SCVs hanging out, probably going to be transferring down to the natural shortly. 4th is still very well protected, but coLqxc really has to sit on top of them. You can see the resources are pretty much neck and neck, but as far as minerals are concerned, but the gas income is really low for QXC. He's got a bit in the bank because his units that he's relying on used to be just Marines, not taking any energy at all, any gas at all, but now he's relying on those Marauders, and that's going to be eating into that gas reserve a little bit more as time goes on. 3 nukes on the way, a little bit of a back and forth right there in the choke. Neither player really wanting to commit, as the AoE potential for both players is pretty high right now. Oh, Vikings taking a bit of the bait of the Colossus, pulling back, a quick blink from the Stalkers, keeping them alive once they've taken down a handful of those Vikings. Viking count currently at 8, and the Stalkers up to 14. coLqxc pushing down into the 5th, or whatever number that is for Quix. Oh, but Quix quickly reacting with his force, those Colossus pushing forward, and this is going to be an absolute race between the Marauders trying to take down the Stalkers and the Colossus trying to take down the Marauders, and I think the Marauders actually won. They've taken down pretty much all of the Stalkers. There's no anti-air here, and the Vikings are left completely unaccosted to take down all of these Colossus. It looks like every single one of those Colossus is going to fall. More than a handful of those medevacs, and remember, those are the high-priced medevacs and Vikings. The air fleet for QXC survives. And just look at that production tab. All he has to do is produce the relatively inexpensive Marauders and Marines, handful of Ghosts to get their EMPs. Now Quix, he has to produce 3 at a time Colossus to get back up to the level he needs, and he's going to be relying on the relatively weak AoE damage of the High Templars and their Storms. A little bit of a baiting, and we've a little bit of baiting from the ground force, a little bit of draw the Storm, pull back, can really cut into the amount of energy that those High Templars have. And I think we've seen that QXC has that unit control, and I think that I'm going to have to give the advantage right now to QXC. Quix is going to be on the back foot, at least until he gets that Colossus count back up. However, he's got the benefit of having this really nice infrastructure. He's got 2 more on the way. 2 Colossus already out on the field. It's going to be 3 in just a couple of seconds. So, yeah, even though QXC had the advantage for a total of 12 seconds or something like that, Quix, because he's got that nice infrastructure, because he's played this late game so many times before, I'm sure, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to re-macro very quickly and to bounce back from a bit of a loss on that mark. Where exactly is that nuke? I see a red dot. Single Ghost immediately scouted by the observer. A High Templar and a Zealot working in tandem. There goes the feedback on the Ghost, drawing him down to 0 energy and killing him before that nuke can actually fall. Another Ghost just to the right of that expansion. And who is this? Oh, a Marine. He wants to be a Ghost. Who doesn't want to be a Ghost? Oh man! So keep an eye out for those nukes called down, because I certainly will be. And wow, the counter to Ghost is DTs, and we already see 2 DTs out on the field right now. Oh, but there goes the scan. Will they be fast enough to take them down? Wow, yeah, those 2 DTs, they do quite a lot of damage. And here, one of them is going to town on the 4th. 5th, 6th, I don't even know what number. coLqxc having to reposition his entire army to deal with that. Will he expend an EMP, or will it be a scan? It is indeed a scan, and that force arrives in time to take down that DT. But Quix, he's going to be feeling pretty good about his economy. He really only needed the gas income for this expansion. 70 drones over harvesters, over 61. And look at that mineral income and gas income. He's pretty much twice as big as coLqxc in every category. So he's going to be feeling pretty good about that, but coLqxc has kind of gotten the upper hand in almost every engagement. Quix has found ways to have an advantage. He's found neat and clever tech choices to get him not back into this game, but kind of capitalize on small discrepancies in coLqxc's unit composition. And I think because of that, Quix has really stayed a contender in this game, even though coLqxc I think has a little bit better in the straight up engagement. I think he's got a little bit of an advantage in that regard. 195 over 185, no one's got a really big advantage. Really nice placement there for the nuke. Unfortunately, with the feedback and storm right on top of the Ghost, he goes down before it can fall, but that was perfect placement for that nuke. Quix would have to either march through that or around the fog and away from the static defenses that he has in position. Quix is quickly remacroed back up to the count of Colossus that he needs, and as well as, man, a very intimidating force of High Templars. 12 High Templars out right now, and remember, they're going to throw down their storm and then immediately morph into Archons, which represents such a potent meat shield, which can really protect both the Colossus and the Stalkers. The Viking count, though, really hasn't recovered. We only see 10 right now, and the 16 Stalkers that are on the ground with Blink are really going to be chipping into that number. We see another 4 Vikings coming out now that coLqxc is aware of the sheer number of Colossus out on the field. I haven't seen a lot done with the DTs. I was hoping we were going to see like a run by or something like that, but the workers kill tab still 30 over 18, and the majority of those workers being done to those suicidal zealots going up to the natural. A little bit of a run by of the Marauders, more maybe to clean up, free up some supply so that another round of Vikings could be thrown out, possibly, or it could be just as a distraction to make it so that Quix got his force out of position, and coLqxc was hoping that he could push in, maybe take out this expansion in the top left, or maybe this guy right here. Regardless, there goes the scan. coLqxc is going to see that the main force of Quix is willing and waiting for him to push down. He's going to say nope, and he's going to push off to the top left probably. But what's Quix going to do? He's going to know that that next base is the one that's going to take the heavy hammer. So is he going to push up towards it, or is he going to push into the top right? That's exactly what he's doing. He's pushing into the top right. The Stalkers blinking in, trying to get underneath those Vikings, and wow, man, doing such a huge hit to those Vikings. Those Vikings really wanted to be engaging those Colossus rather than taking so much damage. Snap over to the Viking count. 8 Vikings to 6 Colossus and 20 Stalkers. Those Stalkers once again blinking forward, this time drawing the ire of pretty much the entire force of coLqxc, but coLqxc is sandwiched between a rock and a hard place. Zealots coming in from the bottom left. The entire ground force is completely gone down. All the Vikings are gone too. It was an effing good game. It was a great game. Oh, man. And it really came down to coLqxc kind of retreating off to the top left, because coLqxc was trying to sweep in here, trying to sweep up into this base, because when he scanned, he believed that Quix was down here. He thought he was just going to do a little bit of a bait and hook sort of thing. However, Quix kind of extended himself. He pushed into this base right here, and when he did that, he kind of caught Cole in a weird position. He couldn't push to the left because that's exactly where Quix's base was. Couldn't push to the right because that's where those Colossus were, and he just kept stutter-stepping away, and he worked himself deeper and deeper into the hole, and Quix just held him there and pounded on him. And look at those Colossus, man. They were doing so much damage by the end of it, and he had so much anti-air. 14 Stalkers, 2 Archons, and 2 more potentially to be made with those High Templars. So absolutely fantastic game. Quix, really nice job switching out your build, because you saw that early expansion. Okay, I'll throw down a Phoenix because they do a great job with multiple mineral fields. And then you saw, with the bio build coming out, well, I know I need anti-air, get those high Templars out. With the charge, I mean, you did really, really well with those zealots. You were very cost effective. Overall, fantastic game. And you guys are fantastic people because you watch my cast. If you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit, one way or another. I will see you guys later. I am Big and Scary. Bye.